Hi, everyone, and welcome to Bonding with Ashley. I'm your host, Ashley Bond. On today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about gratitude. I think we hear that suggestion a lot that we should be grateful and be positive about where we are right now. And sometimes I think if we're not in a good headspace to hear that, or we're going through a time period in our life where feeling like giving gratitude for something is not authentic in real or a real feeling, it can be really hard to see the bigger picture of what gratitude can actually do for us. And I've been trying really hard over the last few months to remember the things that I'm thankful for because I think no matter what is going on in our life, we can find things within our day that we are grateful for. And I try and force myself to do this to also get myself into a better mindset. So, one thing I try and do is write down three things before I go to bed that I'm grateful for, or something good that happened today. And they can be super big or they can be really, really small. And so, I think trying to enact that will actually help people because then it does become a habit and something that you want to continuously do. And there's a lot of research around how gratitude positively shapes our mindset, our brain, and our mental health. So, having gratitude triggers dopamine and serotonin because you are shifting negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And so that emotion and triggering those neurotransmitters in your brain help to give you feelings of happiness. You know, another thing gratitude does is boost your emotional resilience. I've talked about resilience before, and yes, everyone has bad days, but you don't want to sit in that. And if you can find the little joys, eventually it will become a habit and your brain will seek out the positive and the good going on in your life. Having gratitude can also reduce your stress and anxiety. Really focusing, there's so much research that talks about focusing on positive things that have happened in your life or that are going on in your life can continuously help you have a positive outlook. And it can be very easy to fall into a negative loop or a negative mindset. And there's so much research around the fact that you are what you consistently think about. So, just as equally as you can think about things going wrong or think about things from a negative perspective. I think people who have feelings of anxiousness can maybe relate to that. Sometimes you get these overwhelming feelings and they're negative thoughts and thought patterns. And so, if your brain can do that, your brain can also equally shift that and create positive loops and positive thoughts and patterns in your head. So if you are someone who ever experiences that reality I think is really helpful, that remembering just as much as you can think one way, you can also equally think another way. So if you want to improve your mood and your well-being, it's probably best to try and focus on positive, beneficial things. I also realize I'm saying these things, and I don't want to be remiss to the fact that there are people going through extremely hard things. So I am not talking about being positively toxic, if you will, because I do think there is somewhat of this mindset or group where we've taken positivity to mean something where we're not rooted in reality, and we're not also focusing on things that can actually be tangible and beneficial. So I don't want anybody to think that's what I'm referring to, that we should just ignore things going on in our life and just be so happy and positive and everything is wonderful, because sometimes it might not be, or it might not feel that way. My hope is if you can write down 3 things every day that you enjoyed or that you're grateful for, before you go to sleep, your mind will reflect on those positive things, and hopefully you will sleep well and wake up the next day. I have a gratitude journal. It's specifically just for things that I'm grateful for. I try and write down 3 things every day. Inevitably, it ends up usually being more than just 3 things. And so it makes me happy at the end of the day when I look through all of that. And then also, because I have one journal dedicated to that, I can see and look back on all of these things over the last few months that have been joyful or have brought a smile to my face, or things that I'm grateful for. And so you can look back at that. Sometimes we think when we're in the moment of something, and if it's not a good moment, sometimes months later you might not even remember it. So having something to look back at can remind you of all of the great things going on in your life. And the other thing that being grateful, or having a practice of writing things that you're grateful for, can do is improve your connections and your bonds with other people, which is something I have brought up before, because expressing thankfulness and expressing it verbally to people can help create stronger bonds. You can bring joy to somebody else, and you build trust and a greater relationship with somebody else. People like to hear nice things. So if you are able to express thankfulness to someone, I think you should do that, because not only will you feel good, but you will also make somebody else feel good. That's just something that I've really been thinking a lot about lately. And I do believe that it's helped my outlook on certain things. So I encourage you to give it a try. And if anybody else has tips or suggestions, I would love to hear them. Or if you have a gratitude practice or something that you do, I would love to know. And of course, thank you for listening. And if you feel like this could help somebody else or resonate with someone, please feel free to share it with them.